Hello and welcome to day 2 of your challenge, Discover Your Purpose. The topic matter today is this: are you looking for your purpose in the wrong places? And how to live your purpose from your strengths. Let's excavate and discover what our superhero powers reveal about our purpose, shall we? And this is step 2 of the soul method, opening up. So let's do just that. As Mary Oliver says, what are you going to do with this one precious life? So bringing hands to heart, just close your eyes for a moment. Take a big breath in. Open mouth, exhale. And just pause. If you've been going all day long, the weight of the world can get so heavy that it literally rounds us over, closes the front of the heart. Or if you've been going into toxic environments, maybe you feel embattled and armored up. Take a big breath in, deep breath out. As you open your hands apart, open your eyes. And just pause just to feel what this is, whether it feels vulnerable to be this open and heart exposed, whether it feels natural and nice and welcoming. Whatever it may be, just notice what that feels like. So much of the day, we're standing around closed, right? And by the end of the day, we're just like bent over. We're just so tired of wearing the weight of the world like Atlas on our shoulders. So this concept of opening, it's not to be taken lightly. It can feel very vulnerable. It can create even this feeling of, wow, that's a little bit of fear that's arising to be this open for what is all around me. So notice how you're feeling as we go through this. So are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Oh no, wait, that's a different workshop, different challenge, different webinar. Are you looking for purpose in all the wrong places, right? Because it's pretty much the same. Looking for love in the wrong places, and who amongst us has not done that? And how many of us have looked for our purpose in the wrong places as well? So two key things. One that you'll hear this said: follow your passion, follow your bliss, that will lead you to your purpose, right? And then the other thing is think about what the world needs. And then that is your purpose. Neither of those are practical in application. And I'm going to tell you why. But just notice if those are two constructs, two beliefs that you had coming into this video right now of, yeah, I should just follow what I'm passionate about, what excites me, and then my passion will point out my purpose. But it does not. Those are two rabbit holes that will send us veering way off base. All right? So first one, trying to find what the world needs and then thinking that's what I'm going to give the world. The challenge is that when you sit back and you reflect and you look at the world, there's so much suffering. We are in dire circumstances right now, more so than ever in the world. And there are no shortages of places in the world and hotspots and topics and issues and situations that absolutely, it is true. The world needs attention to these places, situations, things, actions that are being taken. But if you follow that rabbit hole and you go down and you go like, okay, I'm just going to align my purpose to what the world needs, then it doesn't mean that you are aligning with your strengths. All of us have been given superhero powers. All of us have unique gifts. All of us have capabilities that bring us into a state of flow, that are easeful, right? And if we're only trying to go around to remedy what the world needs, we're not going to look at what are our greatest strengths. And our strengths can sometimes come from traumatic circumstances that we've encountered, right? We get tested by life in this way. So if you get demoralized or overwhelmed by going after what the world needs and trying to remedy it and putting a square peg into a round hole, so to speak, of your purpose and like, I'm going to fit this here, then it's just always going to be demoralizing, right? Because we're not going to feel that sense of alignment that comes from fulfillment, from being matched with what intrinsically is our strength. So my brother did Doctors Without Borders in Africa when in between medical school and fellowship, and it was a really interesting process to see like all that is involved in that. And you might think, well, then he comes back and that's what he wants to do for the rest of his life, is go into these war-torn countries and areas where there is a desperate need. He said that he was the only doctor, only medical person, professional of any kind for forever in this village that he was assigned. I mean, forever. They had never seen a doctor before, or a nurse, or any medical professional. And yes, it was a very compelling and emotional situation. But that's not necessarily the same as saying that his strength, his specialism, is working in that situation. Instead, it informed him and gave him an experience. Some of that is aligned with his values, right? But his specialism, his strength, was cardiology. And there's a whole slew of reasons why that is his strength, especially having to do with our father and our family history. So that's just one example of, yes, he was doing good and he could have continued to do good in that way, or he could have followed this different path that really worked on his strengths. And so he went into this aspect of cardiology, MRI cardiology, that is, let's say, the best of PhD, MD put together, and that sort of partnership in one brain. And he was so well suited for that. And that is also something really powerful, is just to know what your strengths are. And when you think about chasing all the possibilities of what the world needs, we can continue to run from one fire to another, to another, to another, to another, and never feel fulfilled. And actually, even though we're doing all of this that is supposed to be good for the world, never feeling like we are activated completely into our soul purpose, into the contract that we signed coming into this life, that this is your contract, right? And it's not the same for everybody. And when we just chase after all the things like that, it's bound to lead to disappointment. It's not going to match the expectation that we have in our heart for alignment and the desire of our true why, our true, like, why am I here? Just because there's a lot of things that we can do and a lot of things that ways that we can give doesn't mean that we should do all of them, right? And instead, really think about how you can move closer to your purpose by looking at your strengths, right? Looking at what makes you unique in your strengths. And the other part then is, whereas what the world needs can influence some of our earlier choices, like what major you might study in university, that's not the same as saying that these are the signposts to follow for the whole of your life to address and align with your purpose. It's like being planted in the wrong place, right? Just because you can grow, if you're planted in the wrong place and there's not enough of what you need, whether it's the quality of the soil or the amount of sunlight or the nutrients, then it's just going to be hard, right? We know that. We've all been planted in the wrong place at times and been like, okay, I'm just going to be in this struggle. It's just meant to be hard, but it's not. And that's one of the key myths as well about purpose is that it's always difficult and it's always earth shattering, right? Like this is just like, it has to be this big, enormous idea, but it does not. Your purpose can be something very, very simple, very quiet, very local. And to understand how to be planted in the right place for what plays upon your strengths means that then you have the capacity to make the least amount of effort to gain the greatest results, and that it's not draining for you. So therefore you're going to be able to give a whole lot more of yourself in living your purpose than if it was just hard because you're planted in the wrong place. When I moved to Seattle, I didn't bring my car out there right away. It took a year because it's actually really expensive. But I borrowed my partner's car, and it was a stick shift. And Seattle is super hilly. So I had to relearn how to drive stick shift. And I get so scared that I was going to roll backwards on people, and I would just gun it like to get through the light when I was on the hills. And then I would forget that I still had the emergency brake on, as that was the backup, right? When you're on a steep hill. And I would just drive around, doesn't matter if it was 25 miles an hour or 60 on the highway, with the emergency brake on. That is not good for the car, not good at all. But that is an example of like, I'm just making this enormous effort to try to get to the same place. And it was exhausting, and it caused a lot of fear and just a lot of tension. I mean, I remember it still, but that's what we're talking about. If everything is feeling hard, like you're going against the grain and you're not in the flow state ever, and you're like, this is what purpose is, that's not it. Those are indicators it's not your purpose, at least not anymore. Maybe not ever, but certainly not now. Are you with me? Yeah. So it should be about your strengths. So then the other part is trying to make your purpose just based upon that makes you come alive, like follow your bliss, like Joseph Campbell writes, right? That this will lead you down the path. It's sort of like the field of dreams mentality. But it's not that. And if you're trying to follow your passion and follow what you love, here's the thing. We are all multi-passionate. We all have more than one interest. We have a lot of things we love. We have a lot of things that we're like excited about and passionate about, and some a little bit and some a whole lot. But if you follow that, then you're just constantly chasing all of these things that you derive a sense of pleasure from, thinking that's going to lead you to your purpose. But they don't, right? It's the other way around. You find your purpose, and because it's your purpose, you have passion about it. So it's not make a list of all the things that you just love to do, and make chocolate chip cookies, make homemade jewelry, go surfing, ride your bike, go on long treks, go on road trips, travel, and be like, all right, I'm going to just do all of these things, and realize, well, that's really not it. And it'll actually start to diminish the pleasure that you gained from all of those things, trying to force that to be that is the GPS to your purpose, because it is not. And one of the examples that I can give you is that when you're in this place of just following the things that give you pleasure, that light you up, and then you do them thinking they're purpose, but they're just fun for the sake of fun, and you're not feeling that sense of fulfillment, like a deep, soulful experience, you may then go into this place of self-doubt of like, well, maybe I don't enjoy this, or maybe, I'm not having as much fun at this as I thought. So for example, a lot of people love to travel. I love to travel. And I created Alchemy Tours, a retreat company, spiritual adventures. And I did that 13 years ago. And one of the things that then became a specialism was me going on the circuit presenting at conferences about the business of retreats. And that one of the key things is that as a retreat leader and guide, retreats are not your vacation. They are not your vacation. You are working. You are working 24 hours a day if you are a retreat leader. And there's a lot of moving parts, right? And a lot of unpredictable things, no matter how well planned you are. So if you go into it thinking, I just want to do retreats because travel is my pleasure and it lights me up and it's just so much fun and it's my bliss. And then you start trying to lead retreats and you're like, wow, this is so not fun. Or you're not supporting people in the way that they need to be supported because it's their 1 week or 2 weeks of vacation per year. So it's really, really important that it's the highest quality for them. But you're like, I'm on vacation. I didn't sign up to have to do all this work. It can be out of alignment. Just because you like to travel doesn't mean that you make a great travel guide and a retreat leader or an entrepreneur, right? So, really think about how that might be playing in your life. And the other part of that is that when we feel like the passion has to fuel us, then we ignore the quiet aspects of our purpose. Not all of it about purpose is meant to be like New Year's Eve, this big, like loud experience. No, not at all. Purpose lived is often very quiet, very subtle, very nuanced. But if you're matching it to like, this has to be like my biggest passion, it has to constantly be a huge party, it's not going to feel right. And what happens from that is that you feel like you have to feed the purpose monster. You got to like keep fueling, like give more fun things, find more fun things that you like to do and follow them. And it's like a hungry ghost. It's insatiable and it doesn't really go anywhere. So try to avoid these two things and looking for your purpose in the wrong places, looking for this vastness of what the world needs and only following your bliss to what makes you come alive and thinking that those are going to be the answers to really figuring out what your purpose is. Instead, they're going to lead to a lot of discouragement and confusion. And so what does help you find your purpose? Well, think of it as in alignment with your purpose. It is that sense of feeling your why. It is a strength. It empowers you. You can feel it like strengthen you from the inside. It feels so aligned with your character, your sense of integrity, your values. It always makes you feel stronger, never weaker or diminished or discouraged. It's like you're willing to get a flag and like just stake that flag in the ground and just announce to the world, this is my purpose, because that's how strong you feel about it, because it is based in your strengths. So let's do a little journaling. Take a big breath in, deep breath out, and then write this prompt and free form write so that you are just keeping the pen or pencil moving and let anything that is coming up come up. Be as honest as you can. Do your best not to edit. Know that bullet points or prose equal ways. Draw pictures, whatever is coming out, allow it to. What key obstacles, when you look back at your life, have you encountered? What key pivotal obstacles have you encountered? Just write a list. They don't have to be in any order. We're not trying to put a timeline to it, but what is coming up right now is the key obstacles you've encountered on the path in your life. On my website, on my About page, you'll see I've put my top traumas to transformations. And we'll go into the why of that. Notice that I didn't ask the question, what are the worst things that have ever happened to you? List your top 3 worst things. No, just what are the obstacles you've encountered? And then write, what strengths helped you to overcome them? What strengths that you possess helped you to overcome those obstacles? What strengths helped you to overcome them? Next question. How have your strengths made life better for others? How have your strengths made life better for others? How have your strengths made life better for others? What lessons could people learn from your life? What lessons could people learn from your life? You'll also find this on my website and my biography, that my life has been both a warning and an example. Hopefully now more an example. What lessons could people learn from your life? We are storytelling animals. We're communal by nature. And so you have the power to write the narrative around your personal story. So I want you to challenge yourself to write your story based upon the challenges you faced, the strengths you exhibited, and what people could learn from your story, your experiences. And I want you to write this and start now. Pick one of those pivotal moments, those obstacles. Start at the beginning, but start writing something now. And I want you to think about the power you have to write the narrative of your life and talk about it from your strengths. You faced hard things. We can all do hard things. And what strengths did you have to face those hard things? What did you learn about your strength? What universal lessons are there as storytelling animals to pass forward from those experiences that you've had? But write the narrative from this place of strength, of seeing that you are stronger than you think you are. Write your narrative from your superhero power perspective. Not the narrative as the victim, but like, write this narrative from this perspective of look at what I have faced and the strength I exhibited. If everyone wrote their story, you would know your purpose. That's it. That's it. And your soul always wants you to tell the narrative in a strength-based way. So this will take more than now, but you can always press pause right now if you're feeling it and just keep writing the narrative of your story. So there's a lot of ways that I can tell parts of my story. I was run over by a car on a sunny Sunday morning by an 80-year-old man and left for dead. As one way. Or depending on what that felt like to you, I could write that experience of being in a hit and run in a very different way. And I've had to work really hard to tell that story in a way that comes from my strengths. And my number one superhero power is resiliency. And that is what I've gone on to teach for over 20 years, is to help others tap into their resiliency. And that for my TBI, my traumatic brain injury, I moved from an empowered place of storytelling as like, I was in this recovery, to resiliency, right? Recovery, I think, is like, I'm going to go back to the person I was before the accident. There is no recovery from something like that. You cannot go back to the old normal or to the person you were before. Impossible. But there is the new you. And so really it's resiliency training that these challenges and obstacles that then become opportunities for us to see that all of our messes are really pointing the way to our greatest successes, that these are the signposts for our life purpose, often very, very straightforward. So think about some of the ways that you've been telling parts of your story, and can you take it back from the strength perspective and stay empowered? And that will show you, without a doubt, what your purpose is. Because the lessons that people can gain from your life, from that one obstacle, there are broader strokes that you can step back and look at when you write your whole narrative, and you see like, oh, okay, these are the same strengths that I've exhibited across multiple decades and situations and circumstances. And because of that, yes, that is something that you are expert in, that you are so good at, that like that is your purpose, is to share it, to pay it forward. Why wouldn't you want to make life easier for someone else than it has been for you? Right? Okay, now write, what are your strengths in relationships? What are your strengths in relationships? What are your strengths in relationships? Kindness, empathy, compassion, nurturance. What are your strengths in relationships? And you could organize it into different kinds of relationships with your friends, with your beloved partner, with your colleagues, or just in general. What are your strengths in relationships? Are you a good listener? No matter who the person is that you're in relationship with, no matter how intimate that relationship is, but you're always a good listener? Do you always have a strong empathy muscle? So what are your strengths in relationships? And then finally, how do you use your personal strengths and abilities at work? How do you use your personal strengths and these beautiful abilities at work? How do you use your personal strengths at work? So resiliency has served me well. served me very well, not just in my personal life, but at work. It has been absolutely one of the most powerful things that I'm able to employ, and has kept me from giving up, has kept me energized, kept me motivated, inspired, activated, clear, and focused. It's helped to maintain my confidence. And so that's how I know that that's a strength for me. And that is key and essential to how I live my purpose. So today we looked at, are you looking for your purpose in the wrong places? Looking for what the world needs and going in that direction, or just trying to follow your passion, what makes you come alive, and going in all those directions. And we also talked about living in alignment with your strengths as a way to honor your purpose. And this has all been about opening up ourselves to see that the way that we've lived our lives and the way that we've encountered the obstacles have told us already in this big reveal what your purpose is. We just have to open up to it. And in that opening up, there is an allowing that you are stronger than you think you are, that you have already exhibited so many moments of enormous paramount strength. And then we have to open up to see ourselves as wonderful as you are. So with that, hands to our hearts, take a big breath in. Open mouth, exhale. We started here with our hands on our heart. We end here with our hands on our heart. May you love yourself, love your day, and love your life. Thank you so much for being here. It's been an honor to have this time together. I'll see you again. Peace out.